Have you ever been on a project and had numerous people stop by and say you're doing it wrong, you have no business being on that project, you're outside of your league, only for those exact same people to come back when you're completed and tell you what a great job you did? Well, we've got a great story of that today, so stick around and you're going to hear all about it. If you guys are sitting in a skid steer, driving your truck to the next project, whatever you're doing, don't forget you can head over to skidsteernation.com and go find the next attachment for your business. The attachments that we carry are all made right here in the great US of A. They all have wonderful warranties and they're built to last. Guys, I own, I don't know how many attachments, and they're all from the manufacturers that we partner with. And I got to tell you, they're just built different. They're not cheap. They last longer. They are more efficient when you work. So whatever project you're looking at, if you need the right tool for the job, head over to skidsteernation.com. All right. And today our guest, his name is Ryan Stinson. He is over in Montrose, Iowa. It's a major metropolis of, I believe, 780 people. And he is crushing it in his area. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me on. I'm excited to do the interview.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. I know we've kind of been in talks with you for a little while, and my schedule got kind of hectic, and I think you had a little couple things going on. So I'm glad we finally found some time to connect and have this conversation. So I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, me too. It's been kind of a crazy year, so I'm glad we found some time to make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, I got to tell you what, we always do a little bit of research on the guests before they come on. So a lot of that's, I feel like a stalker on Facebook going through your business pages, your page, even your wife's page, just trying to get some insight into you and your life and all that. And I got to tell you what, if you were to sit down in April of 2020, close your eyes and see what your business and your life looked like in 2023, I have to imagine where you're currently at wouldn't even be close to what you were thinking back then.
No, I mean, nowhere in the same realm even.
Yeah. I mean, your business has just been growing like a weed. You got married. You have a beautiful young daughter. I mean, life came at you quick, and like 3 years had to feel like a blink of an eye.
Yeah. And everything seemed like it happened at the same time. I mean, we went official with the company in March of 20, got married in October of 20, and then 21 was trying to find somewhere to put the business, because we went from just one little 4-wheel drive tractor to, skid steer, mini, couple of dump trucks, trailers, and had no room, no building to work on them. And so I bought a building and trying to buy a piece of ground to put the building on. It sat next to my garage. It's all steel building. Sat next to my garage, tarped up for like 9 months. And I just got sick of it, cleared off an acre here and put the building up. And of course, I told my wife, whenever you get pregnant, I'll remodel the house so everything's ready for the kid. We were finishing concrete, getting ready, once it cured, to start putting the building up. And she comes out and says, "Hey, you remember when you said you were going to remodel the house when I got pregnant?" I said, obviously, mine's another place. I said, "Yeah. Might want to get the shop done, start on the house." It's like, I mean, that's amazing, but fuck, how am I going to get all this done? And I did it. I don't really know how, but we got the building up and the remodel done. And when we pulled in the drive from having our daughter, I went in the house first and rolled the washer and dryer into the laundry room, because that was like the last thing I had done, and I didn't get it done. So it was crazy.
That's a chaotic 9 months.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But it was, looking back, it was really cool to kind of push myself and see what I could do. And once I did all that, that really helped me with growing the business, because I was like, well, if I can do that, I can probably do about whatever. So we really...
So that really gave you a different perspective and a shift in mindset then for your business.
100%. I mean, everything changed once that happened. And it went from, half day jobs, day jobs, to week to 2 weeks, month-long jobs. I mean, everything changed. I had to have so much equipment, renting equipment, buying equipment, totally just flipped a switch.
Yeah. What do you think was holding you back before that? Did you have like some limiting beliefs on yourself that?
Yeah, I mean, I would really say it was just, I didn't know what I was capable of, I guess. And once I did that, I did that. Let's see what else I can do. And here we are. Haven't stopped yet. So
That's awesome. I've been doing, I get on topics and I just kind of geek out on them for a week or a month and sometimes like that. And mindset has just been like in the top and the forefront for me, probably since July. And like all the books I read. So I try to read 10, 20 pages a day. It's all mindset, mechanics, structuring your life and getting your mind wrapped around it, like getting uncomfortable, doing things, like taking cold showers because you hate taking them, just so your mind wins over your body. And it's amazing to me, like when that light switch clicks in guys or girls, but when that light switch clicks and you start seeing that you're capable of more than what you initially thought you were. And then you look back a year or 2 years later and you're like, shit, I didn't even think I was capable of this when the light switch clicked. Like you just exceed anything that you ever thought was possible for yourself.
Definitely. I wish I would have known that was what was holding me back. And if I could have figured that out, when I was 18, who knows where I could be.
Yeah. We are our biggest limiting factor in life. Like we will create a story or a narrative of why we can or why we shouldn't.
Definitely. That's everything. I mean, the way I think about anything, I mean, it's like I rewired my brain and I'm just totally different.
You technically did, because like we're wired for survival, and survival means doing minimal work when you don't need to store energy for when you do need it and all that. So we've got to like re-break all that.
Yeah, it's I mean, like having issues, equipment breaks down, jobs go wrong, you're over your timeline, you're over your budget. That stuff used to drive me crazy and I couldn't get past it. And now, I mean, everything's different. We have problems, everything's going wrong. The guys are like, I don't know what to do. Everything's breaking. I said, well, that's good. We can only go up from here. And then when everything's going great, everybody else is excited. I'm just ready for the next thing to happen. So I'm already in that mindset, and not that I'm, upset or worried. I'm ready. I'm looking for things that are going to go wrong. And that was another thing that really started me on like preventive maintenance on equipment. And that has saved me a lot.
And it's not even the dollar amount in the maintenance. It's how much money you're generating with the equipment because it's not broke down.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, stuff might make sense in your head, but if you put pencil to paper and it doesn't make sense, don't do it. I mean, that's so many things, just subbing out trucking or renting a piece of equipment versus buying one. If you've got a month of work, say with a big track hoe, and you've got a small one that you already own, well, should I buy one and try and find work for it, or should I rent one? And at the end of the day, you just do the math, and that math doesn't lie. I mean, if it pencils out, even if it kind of seems a little crazy, if it pencils out, just do it.
Math can be your best friend for that particular reason. It's always truthful.
I hated math. Hated it until math started being my friend. And I pencil out everything now. I mean, things I really shouldn't even, I just pencil it out just to double check myself. Quality control, if nothing else.
Yeah.
And that's helped a lot.
I mean, in today's era, a lot of people, and especially the younger generation, all they use is computers and iPhones and iPads. I am still old school. I like to have a pen or a pencil and some paper to like work through any issues I'm having.
Everywhere I go.
Yep. The biggest thing for me, Ryan, is it slows my brain down because I got to slow down to the speed of my hand.
Yes. You're not thinking in 10 directions. You think, okay, well, let's just start with the first one, work our way down. And that thing has done a lot for me. I mean, even if I'm in the middle of something and I get a phone call, somebody wants me, hey, when you get time, can you come look at this? Yeah, sure. It used to be, I'd say, yeah, just call me whenever you want me to come look at it and I'll make time. Well, then it would never happen. Whatever, I guess. But then I started, yeah, sure thing. What's your name again? Your address, a rough idea of what the project is. And I will touch base with you as soon as I get freed up and we'll just go from there. And that increased work tenfold. I mean, crazy how much of a difference it made. Just taking that one step forward on something simple like that made a huge difference.
Yeah, because now you're in control of the conversation and you're not waiting on the sidelines for them to. I always tell people, it doesn't matter what industry you're in, what service you provide or anything. Like if you have to deal with customers, you've got to catch them when their need and their mind are in alignment.
Definitely.
And if it's not, then they're not going to call you back. If the kids are screaming or one's sick and they had a bad day at work, they're not going to remember to call you back and schedule that estimate.
No, not a chance. And yeah, it's made a big difference. And another thing, kind of for me, I mean, I don't think it's a thing for everybody, but I'm kind of started to be the guy that when other contractors have something that breaks or needs something, they call me because for the most part, I always come through with something, whether it's bringing some of my equipment or calling some of the contractors I work with and just say, hey, this guy needs help. Go here. He's a good guy. If he doesn't pay you, just send me the bill. Then I'll get it from him. And doing that, I have amassed a group of other contractors that I could just make phone calls and things just happen. And that was another thing that's helped a lot.
What do you mean by things just happen? Like you get to partner on projects, they send work your way, or I mean, what does things mean?
So send work my way a lot, or knowing I can call them, they're going to be there. Like the biggest thing for me is finding enough trucks on big projects. And half the time I don't have enough help. So I'll have my dump truck sitting on the job site while I'm in the hoe loading trucks. And I need 8-10 trucks. And I had a big problem with getting enough trucks. And now I've called these guys enough that if somebody calls me, I need however many loads of rock or dirt, I'll say, yep, I don't have time right now, but I got a guy I can call and he'll be there. Just like today, I was hauling fill dirt and I had 2 more loads I had to haul. Well, I wouldn't have made it in time for this. So I called one of the guys that I call a lot for trucking, and he said, I can be there in an hour, and he can go right down to my borrow pit, load himself, go there, don't have to worry about anything, and that customer is still getting taken care of. Or we had a big pond project that was a fairly small project, and then once we got into it, it turned enormous. And I had to end up calling another contractor. He brought 2 dozers, a track hoe, and a haul truck to help me because I had all my equipment there and it just was not enough. And then,
is this the city of Keokuk project?
That was the pond after the city of Keokuk. Actually, I had 2 back to back that were crazy, but that we got it done and it worked out really well. And now that contractor, I probably talk to him once a day now. I'd never dealt with him ever before. And he's sent, more work than I can do for him on things, just calling me. I can't get to this, can you get over there? And that's helped a lot. And now I know if I need bigger equipment, yet again, pencil to paper, it's actually cheaper for me just to call him. I need your big machine here for 6 hours. Just come here, do it, send me the bill. And I'm still money ahead trying to get a rental on a machine, if they even have one, and an operator in it. And I know he'll show up, do exactly what needs to be done, as good or better than me and my operators. And I don't have to deal with near as much stuff. So that's been another really big thing.
And did this happen organically, or did you make it like a point to like build a network of other contractors in the area?
It started organically, and once I kind of saw, wow, that really panned out. Maybe I should make a point. I'm going to contact all these guys and try and, you know, be in collaboration, not in competition. When I first started, there's a lot of smaller contractors that guys would go and to a customer and say, well, what did Ryan bid it for? Well, 10,000. Well, we'll do it for 8,500 if you go with us. And then the customer would call me and I'd say, hey, that's great. You got it done for cheaper. If you want to call me on the next one, that's fine. That's my price. It is what it is. That's what I need to do to make money. I'm not going to compete with anybody. If I have to compete, then I'm doing something wrong.
Well, if you have to compete on price, you're doing something wrong. I would agree with you on that.
Not on quality of work, but yeah, if somebody's trying to beat me up on price so they can get work, well, they can go work for free and go out of business. That's fine. That's their motive, not mine.
Yeah. The only thing I look at with that is, a lot of guys have that same mentality of you, which is great. You're not going to bargain on you're not going to negotiate on your rate and then go work for a lower rate and all that. But they're kind of like, well, if I don't get the job, I don't get the job. I'm not doing it for less than the quote I gave you. And I always challenge everyone I meet with that and being like, why was it only about the price? Like, what value were you not showing that customer that your company and you provide that it came down to the price?
Yeah, definitely.
And that to me is like, how do we differentiate yourself from the other guys in the area? Like what value adds or what service, what is it about your company that makes that 10,000 worth it?
Right. We've gotten to that point now. When I first started, obviously my name meant nothing. Well, now it's more of I know this guy said he'd do it a little cheaper, but I've seen your work and I don't have to worry about it. So I'm just going to go with you. We don't need to try and haggle over anything. Or I've had, if we do a project and, maybe we can't come to an agreement on price, like site prep, I'll offer to buy all the topsoil we strip, like when we build a shop pad or something, because obviously I need all the topsoil I can get. So that'll help, knock $1,200-$1,500 off the price. And that also helps a lot with things. I try to do stuff like that when I can.
I love that. Because it takes it away from being a one-way transaction.
Definitely.
It shows that you value them too. And like, hey, you've got a product that I need. So instead of me getting it elsewhere, I'll get it from you.
Yep. And then, they feel like they got something out of the deal and they still got the project done the way they wanted. And usually they're pretty happy about it. I haven't had anybody complain yet. So
fantastic. So ponds, like you've done some major ones this year. Was that a focus for you when you started this back in 2018? Or did it just kind of become the avenue the market sent you in?
Well, the whole reason I started doing work was I bought the place I have now and it needed a lot of work. So I bought some equipment to do my stuff and all my buddies, and then their parents and their aunt and uncle would start to call me, and we were just doing everything. And I had to just kind of sit down like, okay, I need to figure out what I'm going to do, and that's all I'm going to do. I can't, you can go do everything, but it's so hectic trying to do everything, cover every aspect. And my pond was super overgrown, had trees over it. And we broke the dam, dredged the pond out. And I posted some pictures on the business page about it. And we got 4 pond jobs off that. And they were all either clean outs or repairs. And then I shouldn't say we're the only guys that do pond repairs around here, because we're not, but we do a lot of the bigger pond repairs. And most guys around here don't use bentonite because we just don't have it around here. A lot of guys will just try and roll a clay liner in it. And we do that. We kind of take extra steps. And now everybody's just kind of calling me for all their pond repairs because they say, well, I know he does them. I mean, I've seen he does obviously huge ponds, so mine's going to be nothing. I'll just call him. And so we end up, that's a lot of what we do.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where your business goes with this avenue, like especially for next year, because you did that. I mean, you did such a keynote pond for the city of Keokuk. I mean, the amount of word of mouth talk in town, because it's a small town too. I mean, we're not talking 100,000 people. Hell, we're not even talking 15,000, are we?
I think it's 10 or 11,000.
Yeah. But I mean, the amount of word of mouth talk in that town about that project and that pond and your name, like you could have people calling you for years to come just from that one project. It's like a keynote project for you.
Well, and then, we started on the project, and the first day we were in the newspaper, whatever, page 4. And then when we found another issue that was a huge issue, we had a big change order. So, I mean, we were on the front page of the local newspaper, and everybody's like, who in the hell is Advanced Earthworks? I've never even heard of these guys. And people flocked, and just 20 to 30 people stopped me every day. I mean, I couldn't get anything done. Luckily, the guys were getting stuff done, but it ended up, I mean, I just started telling people when they were asking all these questions, because it was all negative, which I didn't really care, but I just said, man, I just work here. The owner will probably be around sometime. Go right back down and just go back to work. And then, everybody just, you don't know what you're doing. That's not how you do this or that. I've built ponds for 40 years. We never did them this way. And okay, well, that's fine. Everybody's got a right to their own opinion. And then once we got everything bowled out, got a clay liner in, put some bentonite down, started laying riprap around the top, everything flipped. The same people that were coming up and telling me I had no idea what I was doing were saying, man, this looks really good. You guys work really hard. I'm so happy that you're doing this and doing a good job. Well, thanks. I don't even really know what to say, because 2 weeks before then they were yelling at me till they were blue in the face.
Well, you handle that with grace, and I think that's the thing that most guys it's trying, right? Like to not defend your work or defend your business. And,
right.
And the best defense is a finished product, not your words.
Yeah, I mean, I could say anything. That's not going to matter. I mean, that's the best way, is just make it perfect and just make them eat their words.
But if you got into 30 arguments a day and you actually engaged in that argument to defend yourself and then got into that fight, ticky-tacky stuff, even when that project was done, all they would remember of Advanced Earthworks and Ryan Stinson is they didn't know what he was doing when he built that pond, because you fought with him.
Didn't know what I was doing, and I was a hothead. And that's two things you don't want to have.
Yeah. Yeah. So, take the high road, be quiet, keep your head down. Did it give you imposter syndrome? Were you like, shit, maybe I don't know what I'm doing for this size of a project, or no?
It didn't faze me at all. And
good.
I kind of, looking back, I'm kind of surprised that it didn't, but I honestly, most of the conversations I had with these experts had no idea what they were talking about. They were pretty comical, really. So I got to the point of, like I said, I just tell them, man, I don't know. I just work here. I don't know where the owner is. And then they would just sit and bash me, not knowing who I am, just thinking they're talking to one of the employees. And it was hilarious. It was like the highlight of my day was dealing with these people that they've got no idea, but it was pretty great.
That's awesome. I love that. I mean, to just hear them from, and not know who you are. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. We had one guy, they stopped by every morning. Mind you, we had barricades up at the street nearest, because that's where we parked trucks, trailers, everything. Well, that's where this one group of old boys went. They would sit there and have their McDonald's every morning. And so that was the first part of the conversation every day, was how we need to make more room for them. Mind you, this is a park that's got I mean, you could park as many vehicles as you wanted anywhere on this park. And it was just an ordeal that we had that closed off. And we had, I think, 11 barricades got ran over and destroyed. And most of it was people that were driving by just gawking, looking at us and destroying barricades. And they were all the city of Keokuk's barricades too. And I mean, I guess at least they weren't mine, but.
Oh, that's fantastic. And then I also saw that you kind of push all of your brush removal and land clearing to fall, winter. Is that correct?
Yes. I try and do it later in the year, mainly just because in the summertime, we're just doing so much other stuff that it's hard to work it in. A lot of the guys we do that for are farmers, so the crops have to be out anyways. And I mean, running a brush mower in the summertime, everything's hotter, everything breaks. It just seems like we have less issues running from this time of year until, whenever we get froze out, basically.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty, ingenious. I'm like, oh, that makes a lot of sense because you can't dig ground when it's that cold.
Right.
You can, but it's not fun.
No.
But you can cut a tree down and cut some brush.
Yeah. And it saves, we don't have to try and get the skid loader ready for brush mowing and then do a week job, bring it back to the shop, blow everything out, try and get it cleaned back out to go, do grade work on another project. We can just stay on task.
Yeah.
Then that's less time. Equipment's got to come back to the shop. And, even if it's something minuscule, if you can bypass the shop and go from one job to the next job, that's just one less thing to try and pencil in. And that's helped me a lot. Just getting ahead of things, really. I mean, if you get behind the ball, it's so hard to get back ahead of it. So I try and avoid things before they ever happen. I mean, obviously you can't with everything, but do my best.
You actually said the word penciled in, and it made me chuckle because my question to you is like, did you put pen to paper or pencil to paper to make the decision to push brush clearing and land clearing back late in the year? How did that process look for you?
It was more of we already do our bulk of it that time of year, why not just stay just doing that and just keep the equipment rolling, doing what it's doing instead of bouncing back and forth. Then we can just go from one property to the next. And it streamlined everything a lot.
And were you able to, I mean, I guess for logistics reasons, like if you keep talking to all your customers throughout the year and you're scheduling them in, October, November, instead of having one customer 20 miles to the north of you, one 30 miles to the east of you, were you able to get like three more and kind of have a more streamlined logistical path with the equipment?
Yeah, he made a huge leap. I mean, I had no idea how much of a difference it would make, until, like I said, until I started penciling it out. Well, we got to work at this farm. I know the guy 2 miles down the road. I know he's going to be calling because we work there every year, but we've got this project 45 minutes north that we could get done before then. Well, then it started, if we can hold off at this one farm, then we just have to go 3 miles down the road. And then instead of going 45 minutes away, then coming back, being right back in the same spot, if you can line all that out, logistically, it makes a lot of sense.
And that's a lot of money too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when you're just in a pickup dragging a skid loader around, it's not as bad. But when you're trying to move big equipment, I mean, that's a lot of time and a lot of money and fuel, and it makes a big difference.
Yeah. So I'm curious, when you went through that process and you saw how much more efficient you could be, did it make the light switch go off for efficiency? And did you start looking at other areas of your business to improve efficiencies also?
That's one thing I'm really trying to focus on right now is making everything as efficient as I can, whether it's getting the machines, especially the ones that run roughly the same amount of hours, getting all the services done roughly the same time. So maybe when we finish a project, instead of taking this machine or that machine back to the shop, we'll finish and say on a Friday, we service and wash everything, all the machines, then everything's done, on to the next job. We don't have to worry about, well, that one's 40 hours away from a service. It might be at that job for 40 or 50 hours. And then you got to bring it back before the next job. It might be an hour one way, going an hour the other way. It makes a lot of a difference. And
yeah,
I didn't realize how much.
What other tasks, like behind the scenes, not so much when you're on the job site, but like running your business or dealing with customers, did you look at to improve efficiencies also?
Having materials on hand. I mean, not even materials for job sites, but having, instead of, a 5-gallon bucket of oil here and there, having bulk oil, cases of grease, brake clean, gloves, glasses, whatever the guys need, everything's at the shop, and they, load it up, make sure everybody's got what they need. And that's just one less headache more than anything, getting the phone call. Hey, boss, we're out of grease. I didn't even think about it. Well, and that's another thing too, is making sure everybody's got steps to go through before they go anywhere. The machine's fueled up, it's clean, it's greased. I've got all the tools I need in the truck. Before you ever go there, just plan everything out. And it's not anywhere near as hectic when you're there.
How do you manage that with the team? Is it just you beating it over their brow till they remember it, or do you have a checklist for them, or a something?
I don't have a checklist. I've thought about doing it, but it's I don't know if it would really help as far as when they do call me for something, just say, you were just at the shop yesterday. I mean, you know where everything's at. Did you just forget to look over your truck? Well, yeah, I didn't look through the truck, and I didn't even look to see if we had that. And then you make that phone call a couple times when it could have been easily avoided. It seems like it kind of takes care of itself. I mean, sometimes, obviously, you're going to forget things. That happens, but it's helped a lot.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, and not so much the checklist aspect of it, but the gentle nudge and reminders. Like, I've talked to my friend Mason out in Oklahoma. He was like, wherever the problem is, put the solution. So the warning sticker on your vehicle, on your equipment, it's put at a specific spot because you're going to do something that requires that warning. So for me, when you're talking about they're forgetting this and doing that, I'm like, man, I'd get a sticker made and stick it right in the middle of the steering wheel. So every time they go to start the truck, they're like, did you, there you go. Put the reminder right where they're going to see it, instead of, but just things like that. But you're right. Just staying on top of them.
Well, another big thing is I'm big about every time you're at the shop, clean all your trash out of the vehicles, because stuff like that drives me crazy when I go to get in the dump truck or get in the dozer to go move it, and I'm hitting my elbows on empty bottles and trash. So that's the first thing that's the first thing I do. Go back to the shop. We have to walk by the rack with all of the grease, oil, everything you need. I mean, you walk by it to the trash can, you walk by it going back. So it's right there. I mean, you have no excuse not to almost bounce your shoulder off of it on the way by and think, oh, hey, I need a case of grease. It's right there. Just throw it in the truck.
Yeah. And that'd be a great way to teach that too, right? Clean the truck out first and then grab the supplies on the way back.
Yeah.
Get them in that habit.
Just, staying tidy, kind of staying on task, and just, you do it every day. You know what you need. You know where it's at, just grab it every day. And at first sometimes you kind of got to pound it in their heads, but for the most part, people catch on. I mean, if it's more convenient and they think, well, if I don't have to call him and I know what he's going to say, I should have thought of that. Well, let me just get ahead of it. Then it just kind of starts to take care of itself.
Well, and I picked up on something you said when the guys call you and say, I'm out of grease. And you're like, well, weren't you just at the shop yesterday? I love training with questions because a statement can go in one ear, out the other, or it can be sharp and offensive and he's an asshole. questions are questions, man. Like if you feel like an idiot because you forgot the grease, that's on you, because all I did was ask a question.
Yes, I try to be as good about that as I can. Leave it open-ended,
Yeah, I think when I started learning that, because like I bought my first business when I was 25, and I mean, it was my way. Do it. This is how I want it. Don't vary from it. And of course, it was headache after headache after headache. And then it was because I grew up in the bar and restaurant industry. I should say grew up, but in college and afterwards. So I'm not the one bartending, and I'm the one telling them how to set up the whole back bar, right? So eventually, when I started learning that maybe the people on the front line actually have a better way of doing it than my vision from the back office. And it's funny, like the biggest thing I noticed, which this does again is not industry specific, is when they got engaged in the project, they were completely more bought into the business. They were more accurate with their pours. The drawers weren't off as much. Like they took ownership in the bar more.
Right. And I mean, if you can make that happen, an employee that cares, I mean, that is the bulk of everything. I mean, if you want to work and you care about what you do and you take pride in your work, I can teach you how to run anything, or, I mean, there's nothing, it's just a process, but just having the right mindset, finding people with the right mindset is the toughest thing. But if you do enough vetting, you kind of figure out a process, and it makes things a lot easier right out of the gate.
Yeah. And to know what you're looking for before you do the interview, even.
Yes.
Like, because it can be you can get caught into that, man, this guy's got 15 years experience. I know what crew he used to work for. Like, he's got to be great, right? Like, I'm in. And he was the bad seed, mentally. And now he's eroding your business.
I just dealt with that. I mean, I went to the job site Monday to fire a guy that was that way, and he just quit showing up. I think he knew. So my hiring process has changed a lot. I've had a lot of turnover this year, and it was mainly, I think I wasn't asking the right questions, or I was asking questions that they were ready for, that they'd already had an answer ready for it. So I ask a lot of off the wall questions, or just make conversation. A lot of times, if you make small talk, you figure out more about a person than actually asking them questions.
Yeah, because they can have a pre-written answer, but their facial expressions and their body language, when you ask something and they're not being truthful or it's not passionate about it to them, you see it.
And another big thing is, I do my spiel about what we do and what we're looking for. And if at the end you say, do you have any questions for me? They say, no, I think so. I think we're good to go. But I started figuring out, now that I've told you all that, let it soak in. I want to know what questions you have for me. And that totally flipped a switch, because then they actually kind of engage more. And then they're asking, okay, well, I just, I want to cover this or that. I want to be a little more clear on these things. And that kicked a lot of roadblocks out of the way. A lot of things that I thought I was covering, that I kind of saw more and more things I didn't like. And, well, maybe I never properly approached that, and maybe they just don't know. And that made a big difference.
Yeah. Jocko Willink calls it extreme ownership. But when I started implementing that mindset into my business, instead of getting angry at the team for not doing something or not doing it the right way, but like, did I train them properly? Or do they have the right resources to do it? And you start looking at it and say, maybe this was my fault. The conversation you can have with that employee is enlightening compared to just yelling or saying you did it wrong.
Huge difference. I mean, I had no idea how much of a difference it would make. And it's been a really big positive impact for me, just not getting mad, getting worked up about things. Something happens. The first thing I think is, what didn't I show them how to do? Or, I didn't help them with this, kind of just threw them to the wolves. And we need to take a step back, have a conversation about it, let you know that I'm not mad. This is the way we do things. I don't like seeing this, but I'm guessing I didn't tell you that. I assumed, and I don't, this is the free pass, don't worry about it. Just from now on, this is the way we do things. If you have a question about any other process, I'm always a phone call away. And if you're a visual learner, I'll show up and I'll show you, then you can see the way it's done. Then you know how to do it. You're not guessing. And that made a big difference.
I've talked to, again, so many guys have went that visual route where they'll actually, even if it's just sketching something on a white piece of paper and like crossing out the area you're going to brush clear and putting some landmarks there to say, we stop at this mark here. Just that clarity. Cause like you can say all that stuff, but it kind of gets jumbled in your head. But when they have that to look at, like he said that the amount of problems that he has on a job now are fractional.
Definitely. I'm big about, because everybody's got phones, obviously. So I'll just take a screenshot of like aerial Google image and then, mark everything, send it to them. Then whenever they are curious about anything, let me pull up this picture. Or I'll take drone footage and print it off and actually mark it and say, here, take this with you, put it on the center console, look at it. If you have a question, call me. But if you're not sure, this tells you. And then if you still don't know, then I'll help you.
Yeah, we've got a lot of alignment and a lot of the way we see and view things like that. Because I'm a firm believer you've got to hire for desire because skill can be taught.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the guy I just hired, friend of mine, I've known him, acquaintance, I guess. And he helped me for just a little while when he had left one job and was going to another one. And then we were on a big project and he called and said, I got let go from my other job. If you need a guy, just somebody to run a shovel for a couple of weeks, I'm glad to help you. And I think the second day of him running a shovel, I had him in a dozer. We were building a 100 by 215 pad, and I set up the laser for him, showed him everything, and he built. That was his first 4 days in a dozer. He built a pretty large pad, and 2 weeks in, he was just, man, I like this. I said, well, hey, I like, you're really motivated. You like to learn. You're taking to this quick. If you just want to, don't worry about looking for another job. If you just want to work here full time. And so now he's full-time employee and he's learning fast.
I love hearing stories like that.
Well, it's just so many guys that I've hired, especially in the last 8 months, say, yes, I have experience operating. Well, running your grandpa's 560 farm is a little different than cutting grade or cutting benches into the hoe, so you really don't. Or the guys that have a little bit of experience that think they know how the way to do things, and you have to just retrain their minds. It's almost easier for somebody that you find that wants to learn, wants to work, enjoys it, and says, hey, I don't know what I'm doing, but you show me. You only got to show me once, and I will do it. And that's way better.
You're right. And you can look through story after story after story of, not in this industry, but like business owners that disrupted an area. Like, God, I don't know why I lost my train of thought there. But like a company that disrupts a market, the owner of that business, like 9 times out of 10, comes from a different market. Like that Lemonade insurance that I'm seeing it all over TV and stuff. That guy didn't come from the insurance industry. He came from the tech. And it's you see it so many times. It's because you get fresh perspective and they can learn it, not without having to be retrained. And I try to use that as an example when guys are looking to hire. And I'm like, everyone you talk to that are best employee, they typically you were the first excavation company they worked for. So you didn't have to retrain.
Right. And that's, just makes a huge difference. I mean, mind you, I would love to hire someone that has done the line of work that we do and is experienced, and I can just send them to a job and do it. But I've tried to hire for that and I haven't found it yet. Mm-hmm. So at this point, I'll just find somebody that has the ambition and has the work ethic, and I'll just train them I mean, tell them what they need to know and let them run wild.
Absolutely. I noticed in some of your marketing, like you do a pretty good job of like telling a story, which I'm a big proponent of, because you need to, whoever's reading it needs to be able to connect to it. So
Right.
when you talked about farmers, it's almost, harvest time. You need the roadways and this. Have you thought about that? Like, that's a story that connects to anyone in the farming industry. And they see those overgrown trees, they know exactly what needs to be done to them. Instead of saying, "Hey, you need your roadways cleaned out," like you built a story around it. And I feel like we do that for marketing and trying to get services, but we don't do that for hiring. And I'm telling you, write a story of like what it's like a day at your place or the people that you work with and all that. And the people that read that and it connects with are higher likelihood of them matching what you're looking to hire.
Right. Well, and like a big thing with us is guys that have operated, it's usually for huge companies, and say they're going to go load trucks out of a borrow pit with a hoe, and that's all they're going to do. Day in, day out, they're going to do nothing else. We bounce around a lot. I mean, I need somebody that can jump in the dozer, jump in the hoe.
There's your story, Ryan. Are you tired of the monotonous daily in and day out of a large corporate excavation company? Looking for some more variety in your day-to-day work? Would love to run a skid steer, an excavator, and a dozer. Like, there's the story, right?
Right. I had it all along. Didn't even know.
We always do. But it's too close. We never see it.
Right. Definitely.
It's like that shitty girlfriend in college that all your friends told you to get rid of. I was just too close to see it.
Yes. Then once you do, you think, wow.
Why'd I wait so long?
Yeah.
She was a suck.
Yeah.
And not in a good way.
No.
Speaking of a little bit of marketing, I was curious because I did see some of the videos that you have online. Like, do you find the drone really elevates the story or the imaging and that people can see and connect more with what you do?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I'm not a pro at a drone. Actually, I shattered the camera on my drone the other day because I flew into a tree flying sideways, trying to pan around a project. But I've had a lot of people that told me, wow, that's great. Is there any way I could just pay you and you could come take aerial photos of my property? And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, I'll just come do it, because half the time I do, we'll take aerial photos and they'll get to looking at it and think, I really don't like the way that lays out. And say, well, I know a guy probably could wipe that tree line out, expand that far side of that pond a little bit. And I mean, that would really complete the look. And I've gotten projects out of it.
And there's going back to that value add that we talked about, getting off of just being price based. Like, there's a selling point for you with certain niches, like large property owners, farmers. Definitely. Is to provide that complementary aerial footage and video. And
yeah, it's made a big difference. And I've seen actually a lot of the other smaller companies, like in the dirt work around here, have gotten a hold of me and said, hey, I see you're advertising this drone stuff, what kind of drone do you have? And I've talked a few of them actually into buying a similar drone to what I have. It's pretty bare bones, but it takes 4K video and it gets the job done. And now I see they're doing a lot of the drone footage, and it's really cool. You see such a different perspective of a job.
Yeah. What drone do you have?
I've got a DJI Mini 2, I believe.
Mini 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got the Mavic Zoom because I wanted the zoom capabilities. So because I'm not a great drone operator. So I'm like, if I can zoom in and I don't have to be 4 feet off the skid steer, the likelihood of this thing breaking goes down a lot.
Yes.
But I was out actually at a septic tank job doing some video for a company, and I did the same thing. I went to go pan around and I was like, I'm tall enough, I can clear that tree. I caught the last foot of that tree, and I caught it stops because it's got those sensors to stop the swing. So it stopped, and then it went again. And when it went again, it got caught into one of the tree branches and kind of fell. And it fell into literally a cradle of 3 branches, and it was lodged in the cradle. We had to get the excavator over here and start banging on the tree, and and then it falls down, and you can't see it through the trees. So then I couldn't catch it, and it just shattered. And the whole time I'm doing this, I'm like, that was the video that I needed to be shooting, was the camera set up behind me watching us idiots trying to get a
Right.
damn drone out of a tree.
Yeah, that little mini has taken some hard hits, and it's been great. I had actually on that Rand Park project, one of the trucks was backing in and dumping riprap, and I was taking a surround video while I was sitting in my dump truck in line, and I was flying around. Like, man, that's a good angle. That's almost where I'm sitting. And I hit the side of my dump truck wide open with that thing. And it bounced off 8 feet in the air and then bounced off the concrete. Like, well, that one's done for. And it didn't hurt it at all. I was kind of shocked. I figured it was going to be donezo after that.
That's so funny. Yeah, I think the drone is just a great way to tell a story. It's so hard to get good photos that people outside of the industry can look at and associate what you did, you know.
And especially like on ponds we do, I see a lot of ponds that, you know, they look good from certain angles, but then say you pan up and you get an aerial view and your bank's not uniform and it just doesn't look right. And that little things like that just pester me to no end. So a lot of times when we're doing projects and I want to see how it looks from up above, I'll just fly the drone up and, you know, see the guys working and think, well, that bank needs to be about, 3 foot farther out. That corner's a little wonky, and then I just walk over to them and show them what we're looking at. And they say, oh yeah, man, that makes perfect sense. I'll just shave a little here and put a little down here. And that makes everything just look that much better.
Yeah. So you're actually utilizing it for more than just marketing services, and you're utilizing it on job
to
communicate with your staff.
That's actually what I bought it for. Not even from the marketing aspect, just being able to look at something and get a better view of how I could do it better.
Mm-hmm.
And then
I love that.
I started getting pictures of them. And like, wow, I could kind of market this. And then now, man, that thing goes with me everywhere. Any project I go to, I've got it with me. Yeah.
Very neat. Yeah. I guess I never really thought about it as using it for an eye in the sky during projects. And again, like you going over and showing that picture speaks 10,000 more words than, hey, this needs to be shaved out another 3-4 feet.
Yeah. Cause I can say what I'm thinking in my mind. Well, that doesn't always compute to what you're thinking. And you might do something the exact opposite of what I thought, but that's how I explained it. But if I show you, and then say, well, shave that out, right here, and then we'll throw the drone up again and see how it looks. And that's helped a lot.
Very neat. Very neat. Well, Ryan, before we get out of here, there's one other thing I'm curious to know. I mean, because before you started this company, like you're a track inspector for BNSF Railway, you're still doing that because of the family and insurance and some things like that. So you're working a full day and then working a full afternoon and evening out in the field on projects. How do you balance? Like, you've got to have like an angel sweetheart of a wife first and foremost. Like, how do you balance that as a new parent too?
Man, it's really tough. I mean, I joke about it a lot and kind of lighthearted about it, but it sucks, especially, I leave in the morning before anybody's awake, and it used to be I wouldn't get home until baby was asleep, and I put a lot of load on my wife, and she handled it, but I figured out, well, I can situate things so, like, I'm home for dinner, bath, and bedtime every night. Now, usually when she goes to bed, 7:30, 8 o'clock, most of the time I go back out to the shop, do all my paperwork, invoicing, figure out what needs to go down for the next day. And that helped a lot because I actually got some family time. Because I knew it was wearing on her. I didn't realize how much it was wearing on me. And that was, I was laser focused And I mean, I still am, but in a smarter way, I guess.
Was it difficult for you to plug into the family only and be present, knowing you're going to go do paperwork when she went to bed, or because you knew you're going to do it, was it easier to be present?
Way easier. I thought it was going to be harder. I thought that's all I'm going to think about. Well, now I go through the shop every day when I get home. I go into my office, take my boots off, put my little hey dudes on, throw my paperwork on the desk. I'm over it. I'll be back out here in a couple hours. Don't care. Go in, enjoy the time, have a meal, spend a little bit of time with the family. And then once they go to bed, clean up, do whatever, back out to the shop, and I'm refreshed. I'm in a way better mood. And I can actually sit and focus and just knock out what needs done and go back in and go to bed. It took so much stress away. I used to be, I have to have this done. I'm stressed because I just want to see my kid. I want to see my wife. This sucks. Well, now everything flipped. Now it's, man, I actually got to spend time with them in a way better mood. This paperwork's nothing. So that helped me a lot with keeping up on paperwork too, because I'm always behind, but nowhere near as bad as I used to be.
And you just recently outsourced your accounting, right?
Yes. That was another huge help. Right back to efficiency. I mean, when I go back out to the shop, get everything done, regardless, every night on my notepad, I make a list of everything I need to get done the next day. So every day I wake up, I'm ready to roll, and I've got a list. So I just knock that list out as early as I can, then worry about everything else.
So I have to ask this because I'm terrible at making a list the night before, but everybody that does it says they sleep so much better because your mind can shut off because you're not thinking about what you got to do tomorrow because you've already written it down.
Yeah, huge difference. I didn't want to eat. I didn't want to sleep. I was losing weight, felt like shit all the time. And once I started implementing that, as soon as my head hits the pillow, I'm out. I actually get a night's sleep. My appetite came back. Life kind of went back to not just sucking all the time. It got a lot better, a lot easier.
Yeah, because I work from home, so I've got to have some sort of a schedule or some structure, because otherwise it's very easy to get off track. Shit, there's days that you're like, did I shower today? And it's 3 PM. You're like, I don't even know if I did.
Right.
Because you're still wearing the running pants and the t-shirt that you slept in. Cause who cares? Nobody's coming over.
Right.
So it's like I've had to figure out, and what's working for me is structuring. It's a pretty tight schedule for the morning, from the time I wake up to the time I go to the gym to me reading, journaling, showering, breath work, prepping the day, team meeting, and then after that, whatever. I can't control my day from 9 o'clock to 4 o'clock. Between
right.
emails, phone calls, customers, team, so you just need to be present. Hopefully you can get some work done on the projects that you're working on. But then for me, it's I've got it in my calendar every day at 5 PM. My alarm goes off. It says dinner and Tracy time, because I have to make it a point to be present in the relationship.
Definitely. It makes all the difference. So many problems you were just stressing over just disappear like they were never there. They weren't even things you needed to worry about. You just needed to straighten your mind up.
What's the point of busting your ass to be in a miserable relationship?
Right.
I'm working for a better life. Well, you're creating a worse one.
That was a big hurdle. I had a little come to Jesus meeting with myself and kind of put myself in her shoes and was like, wow, this sucks. Yeah, he works all the time, and yeah, he's growing a business, but he's unhappy. I never see him. I'm unhappy. Probably got to change that. And that's helped a lot.
Yeah. To me, it's laughable because we work to get the riches so we can live an easy life.
Yeah. And then we get caught up in, trying to make a living that you forget you need to make a life.
Yeah. There was the story of I don't know if I've told this to people before or not, but Guy goes on vacation to an island. The fisherman's out there. He brings his haul in his little wooden boat, sells it to the market. Next day, watches this fisherman come in, sells his fish to the market, and go out for the day. And the guy's just enamored by it. He's just like, man, you do great out there. He's like, yeah. And he's like, you ever thought about getting a second or boat and like having twice as much fish for the market every day? And then we could take the profits from that second boat and invest it into a third, a fourth, and you could have a whole fleet of boats. And you could make so much more money. He's like, imagine what you would do with your life. And he's just like, well, every day I get off, I sell my fish to the market. I go home, I kiss my wife, I take a nap, I get up, we have dinner, we dance, and we do this. He's like, that's exactly what I would do with a fleet of boats. But then I'd have all the headaches.
Yep.
Like it's a perspective of lifestyle, right? Sometimes.
Yeah, because it's easy to get out of perspective. I mean, and juggling everything. I mean, obviously to try and grow a business, get ahead, not be stuck in the rat race, do things nobody else is doing. I mean, you really can't have total balance, but you have to find it, get the ball rolling, and then you don't have to be as involved. I mean, you can step back a little, and I still have to remind myself that all the time, but you can step back just a little bit, make sure everything's taken care of, and don't worry about the things that you shouldn't be worrying about.
Yeah. I mean, it's true, right? If your business cannot generate $1 without you working in it, you don't have a business. You have a job.
No, definitely. That's just more steps I'm trying to take to get to that point. I mean,
yeah. And I would say that you're at that precipice point because like the first 3 years, it's like grind, right? Like once you get serious about getting the equipment and growing it and all that, and you got out of the tractor phase, like now you got like a 3-year grind. You got to get your name out there, quality products. And it's hard. But now I think you're at that point now where you're like, okay, how do I start delegating? Whether it be outsourcing the accounting, right? Or delegating a team lead to make sure that the Friday ritual of washing the equipment, this and the trucks are loaded and all that, and you don't even need to be there for that. And then
yes,
working on the little ones and then getting your confidence as the business owner in your team to start handing off some bigger ones. And then challenge it. Then challenge it. Go on vacation.
Yeah. If it can pass the, like they call it the fishing test, if you can't just leave for a week to go on a fishing trip and you don't have to answer the phone every 5 minutes, then you don't have a business. Like you said, you have a job.
Yep.
And we're starting to get more to that point. I mean, we're kind of to the point of, we're so busy, I forget to cover the basics like making business posts. I try to make a post every week to 2 weeks consistently. And before I was doing like, man, I hope this gets a job. And now it's, well, I should do that. I need to be consistent, but I get so caught up in, we're so busy doing everything else that I kind of forget to do it because we're not to the, I'm just begging for a phone call so we can stay busy. Right.
It's a great feeling though, isn't it? To feel guilty for not posting, to share your work instead of needing work.
Yeah. It feels a lot better than making a post and saying, man, I hope this gets me some work. I hope I'm advertising this good enough. That sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, it sure does. But that's a great way. I mean, everybody starts that way. Yeah. I can't tell you how many guys I talk to that start with a tractor and a Facebook post.
Yeah. If you just stay consistent and do everything you say you're going to do good work, get back with people. That's what it takes.
Yep. Yeah. If you answer the phone and actually call people back, it's hard not to be successful in this service, in this excavation industry on the smaller level with doing residential jobs and
right.
$1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 jobs. I mean, but yeah, like I say it all the time, and I'd like your opinion on this. Like, it doesn't take a lot of work to be able to do $250,000 in revenue,
right,
in the excavation industry.
Definitely.
I feel like that's a number that is a no-brainer for guys.
Yeah, that's if you're pricing your equipment, your work properly, that shouldn't be a very tough goal to attain.
Yeah. And then I think the 250 to 500, like you need to be strategic and it needs to be thought out and planned. And then I think the big road bump for a lot of guys is going from $500,000 to $1 million, because it's a whole different game just for dollars versus hours. Like
that's where it really comes down to crunch numbers on everything. I mean, if it doesn't pencil out, it doesn't make sense, don't do it. If it's, it's just not worth the headache. If you can avoid this one thing and 3 other things fall into place because you weren't worried about the first thing, that's what you need to do. Whether it be, right back to having subcontractors, outsourcing things if you need to. So many things you can do that help with that. And I mean, I'm still learning stuff every day. Things that once I do figure it out, it's like, wow, you're an idiot. How did you not figure that out 3 years ago? Like, that was so easy. Why did you overlook that? And so now I just look for those things constantly.
Well, that's the saying, right? You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, definitely.
You didn't know what to look for 3 years ago because you didn't know about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Looking back, it's like, how did I even have any success? Compared to now, it's like, wow, crazy.
Yeah. Well, I love hearing your story. Like I said, we're in alignment in a lot of mental thoughts of how to operate and grow and treat people and go from there. So I'm excited to continue to watch your once a week, once every 2 week post on Facebook and see your business grow and see what 2024 brings you.
It's going to be, well, this year was crazy. Next year is going to be, it's going to be a big year for us. Yeah. We're going to have work from this year that's probably still going to spill over into next year. And next year is going to be a whole new ball game. I've laid out not a whole different plan. I mean, the same thing, but it's a plan of attack, not a plan of how to live. It's how to get ahead, crushing goals, just getting things done. So next year is going to be a big year.
That's awesome, man. If there's anything Skid Steer Nation can do to help you, don't hesitate to reach out to us or myself personally. Sometimes that outside perspective, outside of the dirt world everyday perspective, but somebody that knows the industry is always nice to have.
Being outside the box, crazy. I'll guys I've talked to that I just can't wrap my head around a problem that have no idea anything to do with it. And they say, well, why don't you just do this? Well, that doesn't make any sense. You kind of sit and think, well, that makes perfect sense. That was so simple. That's crazy. Yeah. Just need a fresh pair of eyes on it.
Yep, sure do. You sure do. Well, thanks for coming on the show, Ryan. It really means a lot to us.
Yeah, I enjoyed being on here.
I'm glad you did. So if you guys are out there listening to this, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can be notified of new things. All we ask in return is that you share the podcast with anyone else you know that might have an interest in it. In fact, I got friends that are sharing it with people that are accountants and everything else, just because business principles are business principles. Like we talk about it in the excavation dirt world industry, but principles are principles. I mean, accounting is accounting, marketing is marketing, sales are sales. So that's what we ask of you. If you're enjoying the content, please share it so that we continue to grow and reach more people. And yeah, on that note, we'll see you guys next week.